Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break from working on the authentication for our WebSocket or a GraphQL subscription. I'm going to comment this out where we're trying to grab the member, and we're going to work on refactoring how our member model works. So currently right now our member model is empty, and then our team has a owner, which is a foreign key to members, and this is a suggestion made by someone in the comments that I really liked, and that was to just get rid of this owner field. And instead of having an owner on the team object itself or the team model, is actually put it in members. So now members is going to have a type here that's going to be admin. Now you could make this generic and make this a role, but I'm just going to say this is an admin, and the type is going to be a Boolean value. So just like with our team, we can do comma data types up here, comma data types. And did we capitalize the T? Yeah, we did. And I can say data types dot Boolean. And then the default value I'm going to do is false. So now I just check the member object to see whether they're an admin or not. And like I said, we could call this a role and make this an integer, and then say role 0 is a regular user, role 1 is an admin, and role 2 is a super user. You could do something like that, but I'm going to make this simple and just have an admin, which is a Boolean. So now to update this in the database, I'm just going to say force true when we're syncing. So this is going to drop everything and we're going to lose all our data, which I'm okay with because it's all dummy data. But if we are in production, what we'd want to do is a migration. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change some of our stuff so it works with this new admin rule. So the first thing we're going to be doing is with our team resolver over here. So when I create a team, notice how we had an all teams and invite teams. We're not going to have that anymore, but we'll fix that in a second. So now first thing I want to work on is the create team. So right now we should get an error. So here's the front end. I'm going to refresh. All our data should be gone. It is. So we're just going to walk through all the things that we can do on the website and make sure they still work, and if they don't, we're going to fix them. So user, I'm going to create a bob1 at bob.com, copy him, paste him. Okay. So registering, looks like registering works okay. And let's log in and make sure that works. It shouldn't affect anything because this is our team, so we're good. And our view team should get affected. So here, view team, we just get an error because we don't have an owner object now, or owner property. And then our create team, to be able to create a team, should error out too. So if I do team A, we get a little error. Let's see. Oh, it looks like it created okay. That's good. Let's look at what our create team is working. So it looks like we grab whatever arguments we have, and then our owner argument for create team is just going to be not existent. It's going to be null for that field. So let's get rid of that. So in our schema, I'm going to come over here to team, remove the owner, and alright, yeah. So in our team over here, we don't need that anymore. It was in our team resolver. Oops, not that. Okay, so we're setting the owner with this user ID. We don't need to do that anymore. Instead of doing it like that, we're going to create a new member and then associate the team. So we want to make sure and do this within our transaction. That way we don't want to create a new team member if the team doesn't get created. So like we created the channel, we're going to come down here and create a member, and here our team ID is going to be equal to the ID of the team. The user ID is going to be user.id, and then admin is going to be true. And so that's it. So now when we create a team, we're also creating a member, and just real quick, I'm going to pop back over here and get rid of the force true. That way we don't just keep dropping the data consistently. I forgot about that. We just dropped the new user that I created. Okay, so now when we create a team, we're also creating our channel, and we're creating a member, which is then associated to this team. So now when we grab all teams, what we really want to do is really just grab the member and then grab that member's or that user's teams. So maybe we want to like move this query into the user and to the get user. And if we look at our schema, our user, I believe, has a teams, yep. Maybe we want to just do something like that now. And I think that'll work out pretty well for us. So let's do that. All right, so to do this, we're gonna hop in our team. We're gonna get rid of these guys. I'm gonna copy them over and move them to our user. So it's going to be similar to how our get user is working, except now we want to grab teams. So get user and then our team. I'm going to get rid of the queries since we're going to have no queries in our team now. And for our team, we will be grabbing channels. So, and you know what, we can keep that here. This is fine to keep here because this is associated to our team. Okay, so for users, so all users I think is fine. Let's call this get user one. So for get user, we're gonna requires auth dot create resolver, and then just wrap it. And let's not require any arguments for that. Let's just pick up the user based on the ID that we're from the JWT token. So in our schema, we can close that, open up our schema, user, the where's our queries? There we are. Get rid of the requirement for an ID. Alright, so we're just grabbing the user, so get rid of that. Alright, so now with our get user, we also need to import our requires auth from permissions. So copy that, paste it in here. Okay, so for our get user, we're going to say requires auth create user models.find one where the ID is equal to user.id. All right, cool. So now for all teams, so when we fetch the user, we also want to fetch actually, do we even want to fetch the user? We actually only care about the member, but we are in our view team, we're also showing like the user's ID. So we can either just store that in the JWT token or fetch it here. Let's just say fetch it here. Alright, so we're going to fetch our user. Next thing we want to do is fetch the teams like this. So kind of how like in our team schema, how we grab the channels. And if we look at that, we created a team and then channels. We're going to do that for a user. So we're going to create a user object up here, and then we're going to create a teams resolver, which takes the parent args and then models and then returns all the teams associated to that. So really the arguments we care about for this is basically all the teams that is associated with this person. So we're going to do we're basically going to do this query right here. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. And I'm just going to get rid of this stuff because we don't need it anymore. And we'll put a comma here. I think I have one too many parentheses maybe. There we go. So let's look at what this query is doing one more time. So select all from teams, and I'm going to add in aliases so this is easier to read. So I'm going to say teams as team, or we'll say, yeah, why not, team, and members as member. And so here we're looking at the, there we go, the ID of the team. So that's going to be team.id versus is equal to the member.teamid. And then here, we're checking where the user ID, which we get from the member, is equal to the user ID we pass in. And we just need to grab that from our context again. So this looks good. Let's review what this query is doing one more time because it's been a little bit. So we're selecting all from teams, and then I said as team, which is an alias, and then we're joining against members. So we're getting all the teams, and the way we're getting which teams we want is by joining it with the member table. And we're saying where the team ID matches up with the member team ID. That means that member is with that team. And then we're filtering down by the user ID of the current user, and we're passing that in and finding if that's equal. And so that's what teams are going to get returned. All right, so let's test out this new query that we made, the get user query. We could also just call this me. You see that pretty commonly. So I like that name. Let's call it just me. So instead of get user, just me. So now on our front end, let's bring the front end over here. Let's do a me query. So here we're going to say me, and this is going to be this is going to be a me query now. So .GraphQL/team. So it's going to be here. So instead of doing these two parallel queries, we can get rid of it, and we're going to say me. And now we can grab the username, ID if we want to. What other do we have? What other fields? I mean, email, username, and email. Why not? Let's grab all those. Actually, I don't know if we'll need the email, but we want to display the username at least. So here we're going to grab teams, and then from teams we want all these fields. So let's put in the me query here. So me query, and then our teams here. Oops, we're just going to destructure it from me. So because we know that one of the properties of me is teams, we can just grab it here. And I'm just going to console.log me so you guys can see the other values. And now instead of, I believe we're passing to our channel. We're not passing to our channel. Sidebar. So if we look at sidebar and we look at, I think it's, yeah, see how we're decoding this token to get the username, and then we're passing the username in here. Instead of storing the username in the JWT token, which could go stale, the username anyway, because it could be changed, we're now going to fetch it on each time. So that's a little plus from using this strategy too. So let's see this in action and see what we have wrong. Team does not export a name called me query. Oh yeah, let's change that, the name of that. So me query. Oops, me query. Let this refresh. Team does not contain any export named all teams query. So this is add channel modal. So add channel modal. Okay, so this was updating our teams. So now we're gonna say me. Oops, me query. So now we need to update the me query. So me query, me query. So this is going to be a little bit different than how we're doing it. So we need to go to data.me.teams, and we do data.me.teams. There we go. So let's see now. I think yeah, I think that one, oh yeah, we didn't create a team, or we didn't create a I think our database is empty. So let's create a, unless I logged in, I can't remember if I logged in or not. Let's log in again anyway. Let's create Bob2, bob.com, copy it. All right, we create our user. Now let's log in, paste it in here, and now I'm going to create a team. We'll call this GG, create it, and we're getting an error. So let's take a look at what's wrong with this. So cannot read property teams of undefined. So here's the data that we're getting. Oh, this is for our create team. So let's refresh. Okay, so we're getting undefined for me. So in our view team here, it looks like me is undefined for some reason. So I'm going to do comma dot 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 other props, and we're going to console.log other props and see what we're doing wrong. It could just be my query is wrong, and so we'll give that a test in a second too. Alright, so here's what it looks like. We're not passing any variables, I don't think. Nope. Failed. Looks like we're just getting a bad request. Let's see if there's an error on the server side. Doesn't look like there's any type of error. Okay. So let's look at our query. Looks like that's what's messed up. So this thing right here, so I'm going to copy this. Oops. Copy it into graphical and see. So anytime I have trouble with queries not working, what I like to do is head over to graphical and try running them. So I'm first just going to prettify it and run this. So cannot query field owner on type. Okay, so that's something I need to get rid of. And cannot read property ID of undefined. Okay, so that's fine. We should get undefined because we're not logged in on graphical. Let's see if getting rid of the owner helps though. So nope, still we don't get an error now. We just get undefined still. And we're not getting anything back. Okay. So I want to get this graphical one to work. So if we look, oh, it looks like we're getting an error now. Can I read ID of undefined? So I don't know what, oh. It looks like our user was undefined when we were selecting the user here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hard code the user ID. So here, see how I'm being request.user. So instead of that, I'm going to hard code it to user, and then the ID is equal to 1. This way, I'm basically permanently logged in. And now I can just run it on graphical and get this query to work. So here we go. Cannot return null for non-nullable field user.id. So now we can quickly iterate and fix our backend. So let's see what's going on with our backend. So this is going to be our user resolver here. Okay, so with me, we're finding a user where the user is 1. So we hard code the value 1. So let's make sure where actually is a user with a user that is ID 1. So I'm going to connect to Slack and select all from users. Alright, so we have an ID of 1, and we should be getting an ID of 1, but yet it says the ID is null. So the next thing I'm going to try is just, oh, look at that, I'm being silly. Requires auth dot create resolver. Needs to wrap. I wrapped the wrong thing basically. Alright, so let's give that another try. And failed to fetch just means the server's restarting. Cool, so not authenticated. That shouldn't happen because we're hard coding the user. But let's comment you and bring you back in and see if our front end works now. Okay, connection error, so the server's still restarting. Ah, awesome, so now it's good. Okay, so that was just a silly error on my part. I'll get rid of that. So it looks like we're able to load this in now. So refresh. So we're able to see GG. Let's look in our team and make sure we're not using owner anywhere. So I'm just going to do a quick search of the project and look for owner. And I'm going to look for just search and source. So I'm not using owner anywhere, so we should be okay, but let's just test out the rest of the features of the site. So I'm going to create another user, and we're going to invite that user to the team. So this is Bob2 right now. I'm going to register a Bob3. Oops. Bob3 at bob.com. And we're going to paste. Now, while we're here, I wanted to also fix a quick little error that we get. I'll show you what this error is. So notice how I go to view team. Oops, we didn't log in. Let's log in real quick. Log in. Okay, so we are redirecting when you go to view team if you don't have any teams. So notice how I get redirected here. But when I create this team here, what's going to happen is it's going to keep me on this page. Now at first I thought this was a race condition because maybe we weren't creating the team. So I'll show you the error real quick. So Q. So notice how I submit, I stay on this page. So I redirect to view team and then I get redirected back to here because it thinks I have no teams. At first I thought this was a race condition, like the team was getting wasn't getting created before we were fetching it. But the problem was actually we were caching the data for view team. So when I created a new one, it was still caching the data that we had no teams. So to fix this, what we're going to do is on our front end, in our view team, we're just going to say network only as our options. So options, fetch policy, network only. So some things you don't really want to cache. In this case, we don't want to cache requesting the teams like that because you can get invited to teams and create teams often, and we want to make sure it's up to date. Alright, so now I'll show you this error is now gone. I'm going to create a new user, call him Bob4, and we should be good to go. Log in. Bam, bam. Head over to view team. Oh man. So now when I create my team, QW, you notice how we redirect here just fine and we don't get shot back. Alright, so now let's invite people to our team. And notice how our button's gone. So let's add that again. So, we're not showing whether you're the member of a team or not. Let's show in our team. Let's make an admin field. I feel like this will work, but I'm not entirely sure. So okay, let me just describe what the problem is real quick to you guys. So we were using owner, right, before. So if we head over to our sidebar in our channels, we're displaying whether the user can invite people based on whether they're the owner. So see how we passing it in this is owner, and how we're checking is we're checking against the team owner. And now we don't have a team owner anymore. So this is always false. But oops, I went over one too many. We want to look at the server. So on the server, we want to pass back if we're the owner, if we're an admin or not. So the way we know if we're an admin or not is with this query, we're actually returning, we're selecting all in one of our fields for what's it called, member. There it is admin. So we can actually display admin back. So I believe what I can do is in our team, I can create an admin field, which will be a Boolean, and we don't have to always display it, so I'm going to make it nullable. And let's just see if this works. I'm not entirely sure if it will. And this is kind of a hacky solution too, because it doesn't make sense to have an admin field on a team. It makes it more sense to be like in relation to a user. So here's the teams. Okay, it looks like the admin is null. So we're gonna have to change kind of how we're selecting this in a way. Maybe we select the members, and then that grabs whether we have an admin or not. So basically we need to change our resolver here. This guy, our user resolver, this thing. That way we also get the admin and we can pass that to our user. So this is not a good way to do it how I was doing it anyway with this little admin, we're going to be doing it in a different way, and that's what we'll be doing in the next video, is getting that to work. But so we're going to continue to transition to this admin strategy in the next video. So that's it for this one. We got rid of that condition where we bounce back and forth when we create a new user and we create a team. So we got that out of the way. And then we started to refactor the code with this admin and creating members when we create teams. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.